Freelancer to Founder. Von der ersten Idee bis zum ersten Investment. Genau darum geht es jetzt. Deswegen herzlich willkommen, Tino Schmutzler.
Erste Frage, wer von euch spricht Englisch? Okay, then let's do it in English, I would say. So welcome to this speech today. I'm really happy to be hosted at Freelance Unlocked, and this is the sort of next level talk today. Next level means you can question yourself whether that's necessary or not. We will get there to found a company, to become a founder, to get investment. And today I want to talk about my personal story, how I became a founder and collected investment, and I'd like to give you some alternative frameworks that are necessary when you want to build scaling companies. One of the most important things is, you might know it, the journey, especially as a freelancer, is quite crazy. In the first place you start, wow, that's so cool, yeah, I'm so excited, and then, yeah, I would say you're getting more and more excited, but there's a tipping point. You understand, okay, fuck, it's not that easy. You might not get your first clients, yeah, maybe it's getting better at one point, you think it works, yeah, but then again you believe, okay, I should get employed again, right? And this goes on and on and on. And if you found a company, unfortunately I have to tell you that this whole journey you will go through every single day. Maybe as a freelancer. Who knows this feeling? Hands up. Yeah, so the others are super confident. It's like the first day, already 10 clients. But overall, and I guess this is one of the most important things you always should remember, is the freedom of choice, especially when you become a freelancer, and in the best case, later a founder. Yeah? So I can just remind you about that, that you have the freedom of choice in the very end. And as Marwan also, for example, said, one of the most important things is to get going and to then choose wisely whatever you want to do. Yeah? And the story today is about several rules that I myself have created for this journey from idea to founder and getting investment. And the first one is, don't found a company. Yeah? When I wanted to become a freelancer, when I had sort of ideas, I was like, okay, I need to found a company, it's super important, and then I was like, it's completely bullshit, right? So it's a lot of effort, especially in Germany, yeah? So obviously, you should start with the idea, yeah? And most of you, I believe, are already freelancers. They know quite well about their services and what they can do for their clients. If you're not yet there, then start with this idea and go through a few steps. And especially when you then take on the next steps in terms of scaling, and I'm getting there, you should always start with this idea. And this is me, like before it got serious, we tested tons of ideas, just the laptop, of course it takes hours and hours. We tested, I don't know how many ideas, it was like 20. Same goes for services, right? We wanted to understand, okay, first of all, what is the main thing that we could offer for founders? So I moved to Berlin in 2017. I worked in a great marketing agency beforehand, and I was like, I have so many awesome ideas, and I have so many skills in marketing consultancy, for example, and other great stuff, so how can I market this? And we tested, I would say, 5 to 10 to 20 approaches, and of course it was about zero money in the beginning. Who is starting out actually? Right in the phase of starting out? Okay, quite some people. Be patient. It takes a lot of time, until you find out which idea makes sense. So no money, as you see on the right side, in the very beginning. It is a little bit about testing, about getting first test clients. I know that some people like also Maran and those who are quite long in the freelancer space, they encourage you to ask for money right at the beginning. But trust me, it's also okay to start with a few test clients, to gain logos, to gain experience, and then of course really important is that you get some great voices, some great people on your website, for example, that then give you the credibility to then ask for money, and of course we want to have more and more money at the beginning. So this is me, testing a lot of awesome ideas, but in the beginning with zero money. And at one point we were like, how should we test those ideas? So especially to those people who would like to start scaling, this means, I'll get back to this point, not only selling themselves alone as their service. Now listen closely, because this is one of the most important frameworks that we have experienced. When you start to get into an area that includes founding a company, employing people, making more and more money, and not thinking, okay, I'm just the only person, and of course you cannot clone yourself, right? And this is really, really important. Here's a framework that I can recommend to you. You can also, of course, ask me later, or if you scan the QR code that I will show you at the end again, I will send you this presentation. This is, in my opinion, one of the most valuable frameworks when you want to create scalable products. And this also includes whatever you are, as a freelancer, doing right now, and then thinking, okay, should I take the next steps? I want to give you an example. So one of them is really famous, it's Airbnb, and if you would apply this framework to Airbnb, it looks like this. So we're looking at the travelers, so that's a target group, right? They're looking for private accommodation, because the hotels are, for example, fully booked and expensive. There can be more examples. You could add, instead of, you don't have to. And last but not least, and this is one of the most important things when you would like to create scalable products, you need to ask yourself, how will you test this hypothesis? And trust me, even as a freelancer, this is the suitable framework, how you can take the next steps, And in this case, they announce apartments on university pinboards, and of course we can take those examples and apply it to several other frameworks, several other ideas. In our case, I can show you how this was. When I went to Berlin, it was, quite frankly speaking, hard for me to get into the phase of executing something. I was not the kind of serial founder back then. I was like, okay, I have zero idea how to found a company. Well, I understood, don't found a company. I'm going to talk about this in a second. Second, how should I apply it? Where do I get my first clients, right? Questions that hopefully are getting answered in the other speaker slots. And I was like, I cannot find this place where I can test ideas. And then I was like, okay, the next step will be, I will look out for other founders that have the problem, or wannabe founders, let's talk like this. And then start to create a place. And we applied this framework. To be honest, we understood later on that we applied it, so it was just by accident. And we started to host simple online webinars. I guess this is a pretty classical thing these days. Online webinars, you get to understand who's interested in your expertise. People join it for free, you get the leads in the best case later on. So this is really, really easy to apply. I want to emphasize one thing here, and this is really the last part. Testing the hypothesis by doing something. Who knows gorillas? Somebody who still knows it, they're nearly gone, right? So you all ordered from gorillas, right? Does somebody know how they started? With a WhatsApp group. Okay? So the founder went out and gathered friends and family in a WhatsApp group, and he asked them, what are the things that you're commonly ordering? Or if you're going shopping, for example, grocery shopping, what do you order? This was the first step. And then the next step was, people could order these things through the WhatsApp group. He didn't found a company, he wasn't a freelancer, right? He was just testing if this thing would work out, right? So more or less, Gorilla started with the WhatsApp group. This is what I want to emphasize here if you want to test scalable products, that there are so easy ways, right? And there are tons of tools out there which can help you to do so. The next thing is sell. You know this. At the beginning, one of the hardest parts, if you're not lucky enough that you have the craziest skill on earth, or if you haven't worked in a company that says, okay, after your employment, you get a freelancer and they're already a client. So what we did, basically, zero company, just being out there, of course, with little money, testing the services which people are interested in. So the first thing was, okay, we went and got the text number, and then we went out and were like, okay, we will test several formats for founders and check whether people are interested and will buy these services. These started from pitch training courses for €50, super low, right? Or creating a website for your business. Yeah, we will support you in doing that. So just like a case in which we would hand over a website and then you cannot use it anymore yourself or change it. But where you are still the admin sort of, yeah. And this way we found out through several months which of those services sold the most. Yeah? And where people were like, okay, I have zero clue how to do this. And of course, the harder it is for a client to achieve the goal, it will become way easier for you to sell it. Yeah? And then we're like, okay, that's interesting. First of all, people want to get support, for example, in building their website with no-code, low-code tools. In 2019, when we then actually founded the school, people had zero clue about this. Yeah? Now everybody knows no-code, low-code tools. But back then, we were the first ones to use Canva, Wix, for example, all these kind of things. Yeah? So that was pretty crazy. So trying out which services actually sell and which ones make us the most revenue. And there was one thing that people were also willing to pay, at least back then, times have changed, to get a mentor that is experienced in accompanying them. Yeah? So this was another thing that we tested, put a price tag on it, and then understood, okay, how many people are interested in that, and how many cohorts can we have. Yeah, this is how we then actually started. So writing invoices, right? To then get at least a little bit money out of that one. And here comes the important part. This is why I'm standing here on stage, because as a freelancer, really often you're not able to scale. And there is one simple framework, a basic one to start with. Yeah. Maybe you have heard about this one. It's not about, hey, buy one, get one free, yeah? So don't do this, and don't do it with one-on-ones. If possible, make it in groups. This is so simple, and I'm pretty sure you have heard about this before, but we stopped selling single courses whatsoever after 2 months already. Yeah? If possible, don't do this, or start changing it as soon as possible. Well, it's not applicable to every business, of course, but this is the first step towards a certain scalability, right? Rule number 4 is scaling. And this, yeah, I would say until today, the monster hack that I would recommend for everybody, yeah? So I would say, in the beginning, when we were selling our first courses, on 10, 20 events every week. Yeah? So really several ones a day is a lot, right? You can do 10 to 20 maybe a month, yeah? And then starting to build a network, to get to know clients, to talk to people and ask them, hey, what's your biggest problem here and there? Okay, you're also founder, you have zero clue how it works, yeah? And then we try to understand our clients better and in a really cozy environment. It was not like, okay, I'm trying to sell here and there and then I'm scheduling a call whatsoever. No, it's just simple networking. Simple networking, of course, with events that really make sense. And then I was lucky enough to find 2 other guys. And this is the power of network, right? I was on an event and was talking about, hey, I would like, so at the moment we're offering programs for freelancers and employed people, some also wannabe founders who then would like to found a company. And to be honest, I'm super scared of founding a company. I don't know how it works. And then those people approach me like, hey, so we do have other businesses too that we support, so 2 business angels, and here's some money. So you can start with this. And honestly speaking, without me going to events in such a frequency, I would not have met them. And this is until today the same thing. Who is scared of sharing their services or idea? Is there maybe somebody who says, okay, I don't extensively go out and talk about it because I'm scared that somebody else comes and has this great idea and maybe steals it whatsoever, or it comes to the service? No, everybody's super confident. Yeah, 1, 2, yeah. One of the biggest mistakes that you can do is not talking about your service, right? especially when it comes to this great idea that you might have that is then also scalable in the very end, that is maybe even more unique than the one which you already have in the service that you're already having. Talk about it as much as you can. Don't be afraid of people stealing your idea. I know it's really hard. In the beginning I was also super scared. Yeah. Every second talk I was like, fuck, this person will see my idea, yeah, or they will offer the same. Yeah, okay, 5 years later, we're definitely not the only ones offering this anymore. There are tons of others who are doing this. But in the very end, it's a competitive advantage. You need to be better, you need to be faster, and you need to be more passionate. And by talking about your idea, about your service, you might find clients, you might find investors, and some others might tell you, hey, listen, so I know that this idea is existing in 5 different varieties. You should Google maybe a few other words, yeah? And then you will find it. So it will definitely help you more. So don't be afraid of this risk, right? And this brings me to rule number 6, which means founding a company, but only if necessary. So why is this here? Because you should know that first of all, it costs some money, yeah? It becomes more and more complicated the more people you are, yeah? Because then you need contracts, and yeah, you need to write down what happens if A dies, what happens if B wants to go out, whatsoever it might be. If you're a freelancer, you don't need to have all these kind of agreements. You might have agreements between your partners or the ones that you are paying that are on your payroll. Even as a freelancer, of course, that's possible. So only do it if necessary. But of course, there are also a few pros about founding a company, and one is quite simple, that the company protects you. It's a kind of protection around you, that you are not the one who is at least asked first if something goes wrong. So yeah, in Germany, we are employed at our own company. So who knows this concept of a company? Yeah, a few ones at least, right? So as a freelancer, you are personally liable, 100%. If something happens, they kill you. And they will drain everything out of you which they can. Trust me, it happened a few times already. If you have a company, it's a kind of protection around you. And of course, as a founder of a company, it feels like, I'm so closely connected to it, but in generally first the company will go bankrupt. And then only if you have done major mistakes as the CEO, then it's about your own money, right? So that's something really important to learn, that there are of course some pros. If you are writing text, who is a copywriter in here? LinkedIn is one of my favorite things, for example. So of course not a lot can happen, yeah? But if you are going slightly into this consultancy, into maybe coding, IT security, you need to have good insurance, yeah? But here the company is the first barrier which you can build around you. So depending on what your service is, I can recommend you to found one. And who, maybe a few of you don't know it, you can found a UG, that's a small corporation in Germany. It's stolen from London. Who knows the story? From England? Yeah, at least one. In Germany we have this UG, so this small company that you could found for €1. Don't do it for €1, because technically it's bankrupt with the first invoice that you get. Doesn't make sense, sort of. So at least put a few thousand in there. And Germany wasn't ahead of the game. Yeah, maybe sometimes we are, but in this case definitely not. Because England created the possibility to found a limited, right? And this was with really low effort and low money creating a company, and then Germany was like, okay, a lot of founders go to England, let's create a similar opportunity. And it's exactly the same like a GmbH, yeah? Exactly the same. So the only thing is more or less the name and the money that you put in there, but don't be afraid to found one, yeah? But as I said, only if necessary. And I'm having 2 more rules. One is get the investment or not. I got the investment simply because I needed some money to start with, yeah? And I was lucky enough that they said, okay, take it. But at the same time, I gave away 49% of my company. That's absolutely unusual. Don't do it like this, yeah? I have to say here, this is a GmbH, a social enterprise. And this is a really special case for founders especially and for investors. The difference to a normal GmbH is that you cannot take out any money of the company and you cannot even sell it with profit. So in the very end, the amount of shares is only about how much voting rights do you have in this specific case of the GmbH, which is the Gemeinnützige GmbH. If you are in this case that somebody offers you money, try to make as low as possible. I'm talking about a few percentages. Yeah? So 49 is only this really specific case in here. Yeah? And of course, you're always dependent on what they do, what they say, what they like. So be careful. And this is number 8, and I tested it myself. Yes, I stood up at 5 a.m. and then I went for jogging, yeah. And then I worked until 10 p.m. But this is complete bullshit, right? And this is a reminder similar to what I said in the beginning. You have chosen this path, so choose whatever you want to do. You have the freedom to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tino. We already have some questions. If you have some more questions, just put it into Slido and I can ask him. Let's start with the first one. Does it make sense to first run a software agency and then try to grow a product out of that? Why?
Yeah.
Or why not?
Yeah. Does definitely make sense if you become an expert in the field, of course. It's really good if you have clients first and if you then identify scalable parts of this project. Yeah. So honestly speaking, if you want to try out whether your product or service is meaningful also to found a company later on, always start as a freelancer running invoices. There is no reason to found a company. No, zero. Yeah, take these first steps and experience it, getting your first client, and then also identifying, hey, what about this business is scalable? What can I scale about it? And especially when it comes to software, you need time, right? It's not from one day to another. And if you want to buy yourself time, you can literally buy yourself time by selling your service as a person.
Mm-hmm. The next question is, how did you get the confidence to sell company founding mentoring when you hadn't found a company yourself at that point?
Yeah, this is one of the most common questions. We did it with, this is the crazy thing, right? So you can have zero knowledge in a field, but if you know the right people who represent your company, then you will succeed. We started this without having founded a company, with, I would say, 0.1 knowledge how to build businesses. But besides then getting the right people in as mentors, right? So we weren't the one mentoring. We showed them little crazy cool things which then, I would say, which then gave us the credibility. For example, we showed people, especially employed people who want to become founders, that they can transparently go into the Verzeichnis and check out how much money their company is making. Yeah? And they were like, wow, I'm getting so less money as an employed person, and my company is making so much money. Yeah? The next thing was, we showed them, as I said back then, like Canva and Wix. People were like, boom, crazy, right? So don't underestimate the little things, yeah, that are a big surprise to a lot of people, and this makes you gain credibility even, yeah?
Mm-hmm. How have you tested all your ideas, for how long, and how did you decide on one?
So I would say we tested several products, several consultancies over 6 months, around 6 months. And we started with several ones in parallel, and then we checked, okay, so first organic step, yeah, putting them all online, for example, reaching out to people, and then understanding, okay, will people book it? Do they have a lot of questions, yes or no? And the next step then was, okay, if we understood this is not performing really well for the one or the other, we didn't kill it first, but then we tried with ads, yeah? And then we checked, okay, do people convert with the ads? So I would say take at least 6 months, yeah? If you have the time, take more, to understand how these products or how people are interested in these products, and then we decide on the demand in the very end. Yeah.
One last question. If you create a SaaS, is it called like that? I'm so sorry for pronouncing
software service, yeah.
Okay. How many features should the app have during the validation phase?
If you have a headache, there are several steps how to get rid of the headache. Yeah? If it's a slight headache, you might not do something, you maybe drink water, right? And then, hey, headache is gone. If the headache gets stronger and stronger, who would take a pill? Hands up? Yeah, of course, right? And the question is, would you take the best pill or the second best pill? So even your MVP should be the best pill. And this can be even one feature. Yeah? So this is what you always should take in mind. Don't do the second best option, always create the best one. And always think about the problem-solution fit, yeah? So maybe somebody has a headache and they get really frustrated, yeah? I'm sure they don't drink 2 liters of water anymore, they'll try, but then they need the best pill, yeah? And hopefully you offer the best pill, and then the great thing about it is, they will even give you money for it, right from the beginning.
One last one came in. Did you have a mentor yourself? What made you passionate to take this path?
Yeah. The 2 business angels which I had were my mentors throughout the time. I was lucky enough to, of course, get more and more mentors. By the time we have around 150 to 200 at the moment. And then I was always asking those people for advice. And it was even that when I met a person, at one point I was like, hey, you're so cool. Is it okay if I ask you questions later on? So super valuable. Again, come to the networking part. For me personally, one of the most important things who also grew our business. And yeah, I can just recommend it. So get people who are a few steps further and get their support.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tino.
Thank you.